cool stuff. So I'm like, okay. All right. So you were talking to your friend and about why some of your things don't work out
For with friendships,
with
yeah. So it's
friendships.
like why they tend to, especially now in this generation, sometimes even ghosting happens, which is absolutely blows my mind. It's so immature. But what we were talking about was like when we're blamed in a friendship and then they leave us, and it's like when this keeps happening, and you have to check yourself and like, if there's toxic things, because we all have things we need to work on, it's like, okay, what are they saying? Have a conversation, get out of them, like, why you did what you did, like, what do you see about me? And then when you gather all this information just from it happening over time, and it's like you check yourself, sometimes you may see a couple truths that you haven't realized, and you're like, you learn from that though. But it's also the fact that if you played your part in being patient and kind in that conversation, and they go off and they blame you and they leave you, you have to realize it's not your fault. And that, like, if you did what you can and you were okay, then that's not on you. But like, you do have to take a step back and like, do I have toxic things about myself? Like, what do I need to work on? And like, what can I learn from this? It hurts, but what can I learn from it? But it's always like a balance of like, what did I do wrong? But
But
it all just
what
comes
I
down to
like,
patience and like who really was, throughout the whole thing, was being patient and kind and actually loving.
well, what I like what you said is checking, like asking yourself, like, okay, well, what part did I play? Which is, we say it's super simple. It's not easy. It is super simple
Oh yeah, it's a
because
simple concept,
it,
but
you know,
there's a lot of things that go into it. You know, you realize it more and more.
well, and so that's a great segue to why I wanted to do this connection with you anyway. So what I tend to do is I just people who have impacted me, like kind of like I told you, um, I just want to reach out to them. And I think for the most part, I've been very good in my life in general about if somebody impacted me and I try to let them know because that's just, I mean, I'm a human unicorn with a ginormous heart and a 3 foot body. Like it's God's
And
sense of
it
humor.
does do something for that person. I know it meant a lot when you reached out to me. I was like, oh wow, okay, that means a lot. Like, thank you. I didn't know. Like, just it means a lot. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And I think because I felt the one thing I've always tried to do, and I've always been like my gift, and one of the things that God really, really, really put in my heart was to get connect with people. And like yes, I liked when you'd come work out, but I liked you. I was interested in you. You know, um, because
Yeah, you're definitely a people person. You're like the biggest goob, like people unicorn, just like fluffy rainbows, like definitely a people person. And you
it,
do it well. So I really think you, like, when I heard you were doing YouTube channels and you did with like Alex and like other people, and I was like, oh wow, like that's definitely what he needed to do. Keep doing it. So I was
and
really grateful you reached out.
well, thank you. And I think a big part, especially exactly what you were saying just before we hit record, which I usually am so bad about recording quickly because it's like for me, it's a conversation. Um,
Right.
and I have these conversations to connect and communicate and not be correct, which, like you said, is I I really am. I've always been interested in people's story. So everybody's got more than one story, but everybody's got. People are messy. We're messy people. Like just it's mess. Like
We're
once again,
human.
it's
We're
human,
all trash.
100%. And I know we're all having different experiences and stuff like that, but there's so many similarities or so many possible connectivity that, I decided when I recentered my one friend just actually said, she's like, hope, you're helping other people through encouragement. And I went, because I love acronyms. Because I was like, I can remember that. That is fabulous.
Right.
Um, and she's like, I think, somebody else said, I think you're a catalyst coach because you like to spark people to be better. And I went, yes, please. And one of the things I
That's,
like
yeah,
is,
I can see that. That's true. Yeah,
well,
I
and
can
one of
see
the
that.
things I wanted to do, especially with you, is a lot of times I would make myself small or settle for insecurities because even though I'm outgoing and loving and you know, all that, my day starts way down here self esteem wise. Like when I wake up,
Mm.
I don't wake up this giggly and ooh, I have this great outlook on life. Like most of the time, for majority of my life, I wake up and bombard myself with what I didn't do, where I've disappointed myself. Um, oh, are you frozen? Are you still there? Okay, you're still there.
Yeah, I
And
was like,
and
what?
pretty much like it. I have to work and literally do work. I immediately when I first wake up, I get on my phone because I start with two readings. One's an AA reading, one's another reading. It's just about like basically being a different way to change, like challenge the way you're viewing the day. And then it's an AA reading. Then I get up, then I make my bed. Then I also try not to wake up Donna. And then I try to like ninja through the house to not wake people up. And then I go in the other room and then I do another reading. It's Jesus Calling book. And then I, kick it with God a little bit. And then I'm like, by then, after about 10, 15 minutes of purposeful, intentional action, I can then be like, all right, okay, I'm no better, no worse. I'm just like everybody. And okay, I can be better than yesterday. Okay, and I'm already doing good. I'm
Right?
already here. Um, and that's so. What I would do is when I thought of you, which I've reached out to you numerous times, and sometimes you've responded, and sometimes you were like, "We're good," um, because
I'm pretty
but
bad at responding.
but it was one of those things. I would for a while, like when I was at the gym, where I really struggled and where I really like let myself down is I based my self-esteem not on the process of reaching out and the process not being like, you know what? I God put it in my heart to reach out to Waverly. I'm going to send her a message. Instead of being grateful and proud that I did that and grateful like, you know what? That's cool. The action gratitude, which is like hey, just letting her know I care about her is cool. Like, whatever. If she responds, great. If she doesn't, okay. It's not like I'm not going to do it again. Um, but what I would do is that I'd be like, yeah, that's just weird. She's probably like, why is Jeff reaching out to me? Like, what? That's super weird. Like, that's just like this dude I know who's, yeah, okay, he works with my sister and I kind of know him and he's like coached me a couple times, but okay, bud, like, and I'm aware of that because I remember thinking a lot of times people would be like, well, why aren't you joking, what's wrong, if I wasn't like super happy and all that stuff, and I'm sitting there going,
Um,
I don't have to always be on, thank you. Like, I can have a normal day. And then what I realized is, like you were saying, I was focused on all the external. So I would question myself because I want to be better, but what I would do is almost take all the well not almost. I would take all the accountability for both sides. What I loved what you said was so beautiful. You said, check my part. That's in AA they say my side of the street. Like where if there's a situation or a struggle between me and anybody else, I can only do my part.
Exactly.
And there's so much freedom in that, and it is super not easy to get to because it is painful. It's
It's a lonely journey.
it is. And one of the things I really, really wanted to tell you, what part of the things that impacted me is knowing some of your journey to where you are today. A lot through Alex, but a little bit through you. And like I said,
Yeah.
it's, I wanted to tell you how, and I'm probably going to get emotional and whatever, um, how impressed and proud and amazed at the strength and the courage, which is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act while afraid, and the just it's tough. I don't know like the better words to say, but for you to keep expressing yourself and keep trying and keep, and once again, some of your posts, part of the reason why I didn't like some of your posts wasn't because I wasn't caring about you or thinking about you, was because I was like, okay, I was gonna like that post, but I think she was vaping in that post, or I was like, you know. But once again, without, and I'm not trying to be judgmental because my story. Like, if
Yeah.
vaping and maybe making some other interesting choices are the worst things, you're so far ahead of the game that I'm like, because I remember Donna saying, "You can never tell our kids what you did," because I'm like, yeah, I could see that. Because she's like, they're gonna walk up to me and say, "Well, Dad did all this, and look, he's fine." And I'm like, "No, don't do
Yeah, right?
that, please." you know.
Yeah, it's literally like start now.
Well, I've started, since they were younger, and I,
Oh no, like
I've,
right, girl.
I mean, they know. Like Allison's come to AA meetings with me. She's asked to come to
Really?
AA meeting. Yeah, asked to come to
Really?
some meetings with me. She's brought some of her friends to meetings with me. Um, and her birthday is on January 7th, which is my sobriety date. And because Donna was awesome, and the doctor was like, she was going to have C-section anyway, and I said, can we take her out on my sobriety date? He was like, that's awesome.
Really? That's
So
great.
this last birthday, I turned 30 years sober, but she turned 12, which is a huge deal. She was like, she told her friends, I overheard her telling her friends, I'm gonna let my dad's celebrating 30 years sober on my birthday, so I'll have a party, or have a couple people come together on the weekends so that we can celebrate him and me. And I was like, of course, I started crying, and I'm like,
Yeah, of course. I probably would too.
I was like, oh my gosh, Dad wins! Like I was so proud. But that's part of the reason why I've always you feel deeply. So if you don't want me to post this, you don't you can that's fine. I just want to record. You are extremely empathetic. You are also, which now comes the wonderful qualities of Wave, is you're empathetic. You are very, very caring. You are in tune to other people and their emotions, and you're intelligent. Those are some amazing, amazing things that most of the time going together don't work out nicely to the person who holds those qualities. And knowing part of your struggle with your growing up, like that's why I am so in awe. And I'm not saying it because you've handled it perfectly and you're like, well, I've written 3 books and this is how you know what I mean? Like, but
No, none of that.
what is so impressive is knowing. 4% maybe, probably less, but 4% of the challenges is not even a good enough word. The shit
The
that
sh-
that presented itself to you daily, compounded over years, for you not to be fully broken and willing to look at yourself and willing to, hey, let's try CrossFit. Okay, normal people don't say that because that's like really hard. And you're like, let's try CrossFit. Wait, I like this. Okay, then that's weird too. And but that's what I mean. Like, you've never settled, whether you felt it or not. From an outside perspective, you have never settled for what you've been dealt in a way, or like, because you could have chosen to take the poor me and my life so hard, which I know sometimes you do. I'm with you. I love the pity pot. I love like wallowing. It's great. Covering yourself with it. You're like, oh, it's amazing. um, but for being so young, and even though I'm sure the internal struggle wasn't always just internal, because I know it wasn't, but moving to Michigan and being like, I'm going to go ahead and give myself a chance at a future, even though it's like a lot of uncomfortability momentarily or for a bit. Um, I didn't have that at your age. I didn't have that awareness. Even after 26 months of long term inpatient rehab, I had heard about that. I knew it was a thing. I knew, really accountability was possible. And not only that, it was probably important. It wasn't a daily, like, yeah, let's go ahead and get into this. And I never fully told you that because, of course, our society, it's kind of weird if I came up to you and just said, hey, I just want to let you know. And but that's the stuff I saw. I saw the struggle. I saw the duality. So one of my favorite reasons why I like Johnny Cash is one of his books called Cash on Cash. He was talking about, I'm a sinner and a saint. I'm a devil and an angel. I have both in me at all times. And and when I say accepting, not being like, okay, yeah, some days I'm gonna rob a bank and some days I'm gonna be a good
yeah,
person,
not like that.
but it's understanding. Okay, so this is who I am. It's just like, okay, you're a girl, I'm a boy. Some people that's not okay. Like it's not even an ever. I have to accept it. For some people, it is. For some people, it's a constant struggle. And I've always been drawn to your fight. And I just want to tell you that I see you trying and I see you working and I see you. And what I'm kind of excited about, honestly, is I'm not saying you're on the other side completely, all that fun stuff. That would be super cool. But I see it be less of a horrific battle.
Hmm.
And so for me, once again, I don't have to deal with it daily, so I understand that. But from an outside perspective, and like I said, to me, it just seems like you're almost getting more comfortable saying, you know what, well, this is something I'm going to fight. Like I'm not going to just settle for, maybe depressive thoughts, or I'm not going to settle for loneliness. And one of the things,
Anxiety is a big part too. It's
yeah,
a tricky balance. The mental stuff that comes up, you don't realize is there because of past stuff. When you deal with it, when you're trying to heal from it, like I think that's actually probably maybe, like the hardest part is being like in the middle because you actually have decided, like once you've like decided, you've like come to like, sometimes I've just literally sat staring at a blank wall, and I'm like trying to completely get my thought down to like, you know, this specific thing, like if you want to choose this path, like the lifestyle that you keep living, this is where you're going to be. And like, so I've just like sat there a couple times and I've been like, okay, then let's change some stuff. Let's get on the right path. And you know what you need to do sometimes, but you need to just check yourself. But yeah,
And that's hard because the amount of unfairness, that's a nice way to put it, I think, that you have been, I mean, I'm sure everybody, but
everybody.
I don't know
Yep.
everybody's story. I just know yours, and the amount of unfairness and non-traditional way that things have happened for you, I've seen, I've been witness to, I've worked with, I've known people who've lost that desire, that will. And I've, overdoses. I've seen, you know, people, I've not seen people get killed, but I know I've had friends who've been killed. I have, and, and, and when I say those are somewhat of the luckier ones, it's because they were able to be done with the craziness quickly, as opposed to the mental torture of years and years and years, and which I know them too. And that's instead of being worried that you were going to think I'm a freak, that's why I decided to reach out. And even if you were like, yeah, I think it was a cool idea that to do this, and then be like, maybe not. I wouldn't have liked you any less. I wouldn't have thought of you any
Not at all.
different. But
Obviously the thoughts of like, oh, like I didn't know he felt that way. Like that's cool that I'm surprised he reached out to me because I haven't shared much, and it's you're right, from Alex more. But I was like, I thought about it, I was like, you know what? He's doing that out of love. Like, and that's like a great thing. Like he's a goob. Like he's a teddy bear. Like unicorns. Like who cares? Like Jeff is great. He's a goob. So it doesn't, like I was just, it's fun. This is great.
I appreciate it. And I think, and two, part of the reason why I'm okay with just being my part of the process is when we do these, I pretty much just gush on people like I'm gushing on you and telling you how proud I am of you and how cool you are, and how like just in awe of your courage at such a young age and all this stuff. And then people just talk about whatever they want, and because I really just want to connect and have you know that whoever or whatever happens in whatever day or whatever time, at some point, hopefully you think of this and go, if nothing else, somebody thinks I'm kind of badass. Because sometimes that's important. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's, I know we're not supposed to get it externally, but let's be honest. Some days you're like, I could use some badassery. I could. This would be fantastic. So yeah, so please feel free to whatever you want to talk about. I mean, like I said, I'm just happy to catch up with you and see you.
I know. I know, yeah. It's been like a while. I haven't even since CrossFit, basically, I think. That was a while ago. Man.
I didn't I see, I know I saw you at your place. I saw you in your room because you had just didn't you just paint one of your walls or something like that?
Did I?
I think so. I know, right? Like I'm okay. It makes me feel good that everybody else has Alzheimer's too.
I'm like trying to remember. I was like, did I paint a wall?
Or you
Well,
painted
do you know
something
what?
and put it on the wall or in your bedroom downstairs? I can't remember.
I have no idea.
But
I
it's
mean,
yeah, it's been more than a minute.
yeah, that's too bad. Well, I'm glad we're doing this now. Like super random. I love it. That's the best times to do it though. Like when it's just super random conversations, I think the best conversations happen at that time.
To me, it's more authentic
Exactly.
because I don't have an agenda besides telling
No,
you that you're
that's something
cool.
my dad says. That's funny. Agenda. No agenda. It's good not to have an agenda when you trust him. It's like,
But
yeah.
my lack of patience level comes out pretty much all the time. I'm like, dude, I prayed like 4 minutes ago. What is going on? Where's the answers for everything?
Yeah, really. Where's like I still feel like, it's like shh.
I know, be
Yeah,
silent. Be like, okay, I'm silent. I'm
yeah,
silent. I'm silent.
literally, that's actually something like a few days ago that I saw. It happened like a couple times that I just saw or heard about it, either from Alex and then saw something, a post, but it was just like, be silent. Like that's just it. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess that's what I need to do because I've been like, you kind of hype yourself up sometimes. I know, especially if people deal with anxiety, it's a tricky balance. It is. It's like you mentally like overhype stuff and overthink about stuff when it's like realistically, tone it down a notch. Like trust the process; it'll be okay. Like,
Well, and even being older, what I realized is why do I think every minute is going to last forever? It,
right? I
it,
know you feel so deeply about like heavy about right here and right now. It's like, like oh,
and I and
we're
and
all
I
human too. We feel it. We all feel it. It's like always just gotta tone it down a notch. That's what I say. It's just like,
well and it's hard to well not hard, but what I liked is when we were talking before we started recording is what you were talking about of just just connecting. Like it's just
mm,
about there's so much push away and point and criticize and you know what about just like what can and so what I've been doing is like what connects me to people and politics, religions, like all different cool things, like all these people I've interviewed stuff. it's it's the humanness. We're all, to me, we're all spiritual beings having human experience. That's what we are.
yeah,
and
bring it
and
down to earth.
and everything I think partially because I've been the center of attention in a huge room and still felt like super lonely.
Mm,
And I and that's all the self-talk, that's all that anxiety, that's all that. And a big part of it, like I said, is because I feel deeply. I my lens that information comes in through, well, first of all, also from my past and all the things that have happened to me, my
oh
lens
yeah,
is a very interesting like sometimes Donna, I'll say something to Donna and she'll be like, okay, what are you responding to? And I'm
you
like,
just start talking and you're like,
I know. I'm like, wait, didn't you just yell at me for this? And she'd be like, whoa. No, all I said was, did you want French fries with that? Like, I literally just said French. And I'm like, oh. But that's,
wow, your mind's just going.
correct. And so instead of focusing on all the junk up here, I've decided no matter what, I'm going to spend my time only ingesting stuff that makes me super happy. And part of the thing that makes me super happy is how grateful I am to have shared part of people's stories, like so many cool, amazing people like you. And I I I was pretty aware that you didn't know. I thought like I was a huge fan of yours because, like I told you, like that's not normal, which to me is sad. Like that's part of the reason why we are the state we are,
Right?
because it's
Why
not
isn't it
acceptable.
normal? Why? It's like some things, actually, a lot of things are like common sense to me, and like when people just like don't see it or like do, and then they blame you, and I'm like, oh, wow, people suck. I mean, we all suck, but
Correct. But that's true.
yeah. Oh,
So funny. So what's your dealio? You finished school, right?
no, I have actually one more
Oh, that's
year.
right. Duh.
I
No,
have homework.
but you have more. Are you done this year?
I am done this year, yeah.
Wait, what
It's
is
kind of sad because my
February?
birthday is like the cutoff date's October, late October. So it's like my birthday
17th.
September. Mm. So I'm like, oh, like it should have been out last year. Technically, not really, but if it was one more month later, I would be out. Too bad.
So
And I'm
you're
doing Flex Tech here in Michigan online, so it's actually really easy. They have a good program. Like it's just very people who actually care about the process of your schoolwork and like are very helpful with following up. It's great. I
that's
suggest it to
cool.
other people.
So
Definitely.
so what about your creativity stuff going on? Since I love that
Tattooing.
about you. Hmm.
I have I've recently done 3 tattoos. Um they turned out way better than I thought for my first ever 3. One was a golden snitch from Harry Potter. One was a little cat, but it was on the chunkier side because it wanted to mimic her actual cat. Um, so and then the third one was 3 different types of mushrooms with like leaves and pebbles and a moon, and it was an eye. One was dripping, and um, one was just like a space moon. So it was really interesting just to like figure out what you do wrong, and like it's not that bad because you think it's way harder than it is, and it's just, I guess it just feels natural, but it's really fun with because you sketch it. It's really interesting how it works. It's like transfer paper, so there's like you can get a pencil and just trace it on top, and then you flip to the back, and it like pushes, like the sketch that you did, it pushes ink onto the other side, so you like that's your blueprint. That's like, and then you place it down. I just think it's cool how it works. It's just something simple, but it's really interesting. I'm excited to sketch another one I have going at right now, is snake with flowers and palm trees and stuff.
That's sweet.
So yeah, I'm nervous for it, but hopefully there's some big things gonna come up. But I'm excited for what the future brings for sure if I keep going with this. So, and it's been my dream since 7th grade. So I'm I'm going for it. But
7th grade?
yeah, it's been a while. It's been like 7th or 8th grade. Yeah, I remember back. It was like private school. So I would always be like henna like on myself, like, or little doodles in class. It's just, I knew it was always something because my dad, is artistic, and so I'm really excited. I'm excited to possibly even like in the future I want to move to Florida, because there's some good spots for tattooing down there. Obviously, it's bigger, and I've always loved the beach, so it's been a dream.
Not mad
So
at you.
yeah, I'm trying to make it realistic. I already have a I've been looking at some places. I found some good spots with some good deals, and it's rental too. So like, I'll just save it, and later in the future, whenever that comes, realistically, it's like some cool places with tattooing, and I'm excited just for hopefully this is what's gonna go for me. But if not, if something changes, um, that's how life goes. Expect it. you know, yeah.
Seventh grade. That's amazing.
so
Because I'm like figuring out what I want to do at, I think I was 46.
really,
Well, I mean, I always knew it was going to be with people, something with people,
yeah, but
but
yeah,
that's not very specific. It's like something with
well,
people.
yeah, but no, that's still like, because there's different. It's really just cool for me. It's interesting to hear other people's like, you're good with people. Some people are artistic. Some people are like smart.
Yes,
Thank people for them.
me too. Because I'm like, yes, what they said.
Yeah.
So when you're doing art, what what do you feel when you're doing art? I know that might be a weird question, but probably not
No,
to you,
not at all
actually.
for
I was
me.
gonna say, okay.
Yeah. Like, definitely peaceful. Like, maybe before, like right before I start, that's always like everything you start in the beginning is a little nervous. And then you get into it, it's like super peaceful, and you just like keep correcting yourself little by little. It's like very detail oriented is like soothing to me because it's perfect. Like it's perfect. Like a good stroke, like a good line. I don't know. It's just like, and then you see the finished product and you're like, huh, that looks kind of snazzy. Yeah, like it's just accomplished feeling. So
See,
I
that's
don't
cool.
know. It
I,
makes me really happy, like really hyped up. Now I want to like. So,
but what I like too is so one of the things I was very self-conscious because I am not what I thought of an artist. And so what I thought of an artist is like you and Allison, you guys will doodle. I'm sitting there like I won't play win, lose, or draw or Pictionary because I'm like don't want anybody to see how bad I draw and it's horrible and
I
and
love Pictionary.
yeah, of course you would. Shocking. I mean, you're sitting there like, oh, apparently I work for Disney. Look at my drawing. It's frozen, and I'm sitting there like trying to draw an ice cube, and I just finally write the word cold because you're not supposed to write words and stuff. Um, but what I realized is I never knew like language was artistic. I didn't know like
Mm,
I see like the way I see people is very artistic. It's very so when I'm having a conversation with somebody, even if it's like crazy messed up when I was a counselor and all that stuff, I don't see the struggle in a sense. I'm just it's such in my frequency that the flow is just there. Like you said,
mm.
it's just peaceful and it's encompassing and it's not it just flows. Like once again, lack of a better term, just flows. And same with I didn't realize I was pretty good at photography, and I didn't realize I had a good
Really?
ear for music, and I have a good ear. So just because I can't sing doesn't mean I don't hear amazing like. So it's really weird, um,
That's interesting.
but it took me a long time to challenge what artistic was,
Hmm.
and what I liked about you immediately is you were just like, I'll try something. So for me, of course, that's a panic attack times three. And you're like, so I said, hey, do you want to maybe make me something? You're like, yep. I was like, you're like, what do you want? I went, oh my God, I don't know. I don't, I'm not artist. Like I'm not that art. Like, and I think part of it is because I love how when there's sensations, feelings. I'm assuming it's like what you were just talking about getting all geeked about. Oh, I'm jazzed up now. Like you literally like you're peaceful, but then you're like it's peaceful, but I want to do it right now. Yeah, that's fun. That feeling
Yeah.
is how I get when I talk to people because
Definitely.
it,
I definitely see that in you. It's so funny. It's so funny to me. It's like, yeah, like it's literally like a whole body, like, let's go type of thing.
well, that's what you were
On
doing.
go mode with
I want you to
people.
watch this because you were literally like this. I said, so how do you feel? And you're like, oh, it's really peaceful. And then you're like explaining it. And then as you're explaining it, your eyes got bigger and you're like, I'm ready to go. Let's do one. Because that's your frequency. Do you know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
when you were talking about making art stuff, you got like that. And so what I think is cool is anybody who can
That's so
connect
funny.
with their frequency is so far ahead of the game because you know, I connect with my frequency when I was 17. I realized I want to help people. And
Mm,
and that way is like I want to help people um with addiction, but really it was I want to help people not feel hopeless.
mm.
That's what it was. Because to me, that's what addiction was. Addiction was
Literally, just like a dark, like there is nothing left, like a blank, dark room. No
but
hope.
but pain. So
Seriously,
yes. And
just yeah,
and the
it's like
loneliness and the destruction that that caused in me was super powerful. Like, and it's funny because I didn't even give myself credibility. I say this a couple other people I interviewed. It's so funny. So I didn't give myself credibility for having 29 years sober. That like I could like, oh yeah, I've done some stuff. I have some experience. It wasn't until this year when I was 30 years I was like, oh yeah, I'm credible now. I was like, wait, so I wasn't credible at 29 years
isn't
sober?
it
Like,
funny how just things work? It takes time to learn stuff. It's crazy, mysterious ways.
well, and that's part of the reason why I got so excited for you is because you are delving into it. Now, like I said, I know you're not all rainbows and happy times and all that fun stuff, but part of your coping mechanisms you've tailored are in the process of tailoring so that it's beneficial to be able to get you into that rhythm in your vibration stuff as opposed to
Exactly. And a lot of it is habit. A lot of it is not realizing you kind of, shut off sometimes because of things from the past where it's like, even just if someone says something like, and you're like, you don't like subconsciously realize it reminds you of that and you kind of zone off. It's like, come back to reality. But yeah, it's like just getting those habits back in check, just little by little, little stepping stones. I kind of think of it because mentally it always seems like, oh, there's so many roots, so many things. It's like little at a time. You'll get there.
which is an amazing perspective for somebody who's not finished with school. And I know partly that may be a lonely kind of, and I don't want to say awkward, I guess maybe awkward, but because people your age, like you said, like you're like ghosting. Why is that even a thing? Like I couldn't imagine like sitting there and hearing Allison talk about first of all being a girl as a whole. Oh my gosh, that's tough. And um and then just
Being a guru
Jacob,
is too.
Jacob being super sensitive like me. Allison is too, but she's more super sensitive. And then I'm gonna punch you in the face because I'm also strong and a tough chick. Whereas Jacob's like, I'm a sweet dude. Like he still kisses. Like
Oh,
when I drop him off for school, he still gives me kisses. And
that's so sweet.
it is. And he's but he's sitting there and he's like, you go to school and there's nothing. You can't talk to people. You can't really interact with people. You have literal like cages basically of plexiglass you carry around, and then you're on Zoom, but you're on Zoom in person. So it's really weird. Oh,
Low battery.
do you need to go plug in?
No, I have a charger right here actually.
Okay,
And it's sideways, so I can do it.
okay,
Got it.
okay. So I it's it's just why is it being
These things
disrespectful?
keep popping up. Like, don't allow.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. So I don't know. I don't even really know where I was going with that. I just know. Oh, like being knowing you're different at a time when it's not cool to be different.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah,
It's
it's definitely when you go against what society has to say and be confrontational. I realize a lot of people can, in a nice way. Like, I mean, there's different ways to be confrontational. You can be a bitch about it, or you can be truthful and patient. But it's really crazy how people blame you. And that's why I say if you can't face your demons, I can't help you, and I won't benefit from this friendship. Sometimes you just gotta find your ways. It's like question definitely is one thing I think people should do more, especially my age, and I'm scared for the younger generations. Is like they're gonna be so like white, just like white faced dumb. It's like you're gonna be staring at a screen all day. That's what I mean by white face. It's like,
yeah,
oh
like there,
no, I'm
there's
scared.
yeah, because how do you date? How do you do like normal like
It's all around it.
and part of the human experience is that oh, I'm gonna go talk to that. Like for me, I'm gonna go talk to that girl. Oh, how's she gonna respond? Does she want to talk to me? Did I brush my teeth? Did I,
Hmm.
and it's
Your
that's
intentions behind stuff too is something you got to watch out for. I know, especially for me, is like you check yourself, like, hey, what are my intentions with that actually like? Because I know what that's gonna lead to, right? You do sometimes, or most of the time, actually. I figured.
and it's so like I try not to say terrifying, but yeah,
No, it is pretty scary if you think about just what things are gonna be, especially at the rate how things are going down now. Yeah,
so because you're championing being a
champion.
champion for um
Okay.
being you know basically a self accountable, which I don't know if that's redundant, but being in what you're responsible for and what you bring to the table, like what you kept saying. How does that look for say the rest of this year? Like what does that look like for you for the rest of this year?
Mm, that's really hard. like when you said timer is irrelevant, I busted out laughing. It's because I literally said that earlier today. Yeah, but right now, being in Michigan is for a time of healing. So the rest of this year, I think for me is getting back on my feet because I have some goals with even with getting a license. That's something I've pushed off for
Too long,
um yep, too
but
long.
it's okay.
That's something, yeah, that I chose and I'm taking the consequences for it. But now it's time to get back on my feet and it's I need to get it before my 19th birthday in September. So I'm gonna be working towards that. I already have been driving so much. I know like everything now, but like highways and stuff, still gotta do that, downtowns. But just different things. It's like there's so many things going down in this world too, though. It's just you can get in your head about it for sure. But because there's so many things like just different matters like I don't want to bring up specifics, but even just with BLM or the Capitol breaking in, or like Trump and like all of these things, I feel like people, especially today, I know this is a little off topic from what you asked, but like they get so involved in something, especially with social media. It's like I just see it as just like constant distraction from like what you're actually feeling. And it really sucks to like think that most people, especially I've noticed even like 20s and down, is like you can't face your shit. And it's like, where are you gonna get if you're not pursuing a better version of you? Like everyone's saying, like how it like there's so many things going on with blah blah blah, and like they're all pointing and they never actually realistically like they may like nod and like yeah like I know what you're talking about, yeah I get you. It's like hey, like I'm not saying this to you just so you can like say yeah I got you and not realistically like try to check yourself. Some
Bec-
people it's like
because it's not going to do
it's selfish pursuit. That's all. That's like all it is.
well. And I think like, and I think this is the topic because this is kind of what you started talking about originally before we started recording is you, the distance, the lack of
Connection is what you said.
connection. Yeah, and just like you said, everybody's pointing their finger at everybody, but no, people don't start by saying, like, for example, I'll get specific. One of the things when the Capitol riot happened, I was watching it with Jake, and I was so upset because I like this country. Um, I, I have friends from a lot of other countries. We have a pretty good country. Like, I know it's not perfect. I'm aware. I live here. I'm 47. I've been around, but we have it pretty darn good. But and I don't think I'm naive, but one of the things, like people don't it, it, the opportunity for people to connect and say right or left, it doesn't matter. That's unacceptable. And so, you know what? I'm not even if they don't say, well, it was all my fault. That's okay because politicians, and I know they're not going to, but the opportunity was there to say, hey, we, you know what? I see maybe by me always pointing this out could be provoking and could be upsetting some people. And you know what? Like I thought, what?
It's
How?
coming to a middle ground.
Well,
It's
and it.
like people can't do that today, and that's what's lacking. It's like people are talking about love and like people are demanding for you to accept them for themselves, and it's like this is an actual love. Like, what do you guys check yourself?
Yeah, well, and if I have, so you want me to accept you the way you are, but you don't accept the way I am.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly.
and and the reason I think it's hypocritical to me, it's the reason it's hypocritical because it's not from a place of authenticity. Because we know, people know if somebody's like, you know, hey, I made a mistake, and here's I'm gonna own up to it. You're like, whoa, I thought it was gonna go this way. This is how it went. This is what happened. Oof. That not only doesn't push people away, usually it attracts people because they're like, oh, you're human. Oh, you made a mistake like me. Oh, well, here's where because to me that's the middle. Like I thought,
Right.
how good would it have been had Biden said, you know what? Agreed. There's a lot of stuff Trump did I didn't like because he did, but I'm going to point out some of the things he did that I thought were good for the country. How amazing would that have been? Do you know what I mean? Now, some of the stuff he says, which I kind of part of the reason why it makes me a little bit happier is because I haven't purposely heard him even talking about Trump, which I think sometimes okay, that's like if you're not going to say something nice, don't say anything. Okay, like we'll go back
Yeah.
to school. But that's but once again, I came from a point of view of I was lonely. I didn't like feeling lonely, so I'm not going to settle for that. I have anxiety. I don't like anxiety. I'm not going to settle for that. Like you said, I changed my habits.
Those are good points, right?
And
Yeah.
and you know, I know how I was yesterday. I was pretty good yesterday, but I could probably be maybe 1% better today. Let's try. And if it doesn't mean oh everything is screwed and just throw it all away. It's like ooh man, I hope I have tomorrow because today was kind of a poop show. So maybe
Yeah.
tomorrow will be a little better. But
And I know a feeling of like you probably have felt this way too, is like kind of because I know you're like your mind's always going is like not feeling enough. And it's like I know that's where anxiety comes from a lot for me. Is like growing up, especially I never felt enough. So today, like I struggle with like, you know, doing things like actually positive and like feeling, accomplished instead of being stuck in like a, oh, I'm never enough and like, oh, or whatever. It's like a depressing mindset.
and
Yeah.
what I think is hopeful is which is it's kind of that paradigm, right? It's the paradigm shift of you're sharing your weakness, which then gives you strength and also relatability, because
Exactly.
and not now once again, not everybody's gonna honor your openness. I know this, you know,
Yeah, obviously. People are people. They can
and
do what I don't care what they do with the
and a lot of it is
with
people
their
treat
life.
you how they view themselves or their life, not how they view you. And a lot of times, you know, we get the byproduct of all their baggage, and we all of a sudden we're like, apparently I was at the wrong place at the wrong time because your feelings just came out all over me. Thanks for that. And so what I try to do because I'm guilty of that. I know that. And it's funny because I've told my entire family I want to be better. I don't want to cuss it like cuss at you. I don't want to cuss when I'm like when I'm if I'm frustrated. I don't want to cuss because to an extent, I didn't like that when my dad did that. It was scary, but it's also that's not how I feel.
Mhm.
I don't. I'm not trying. I don't want my kids to be scared of me, or I don't want my wife to be afraid of me. I want people to. I want them to be like, well, obviously he's hurting, and he's hurting for whatever reason. Let's figure that out because
Ooh, that yeah, that reminds me of another thing that kind of makes me think of is like people are so quick to, I know I can say this for myself, is like quick to judge or jump on someone for like they see that and they don't see, like instead of where is that actually coming from with them. If people just did that and took a step back, it'd be like, whoa, that's a whole different perspective. And then you could actually be patient instead of getting all riled up about the surfaced stuff. It's like, hello.
Yeah, like
Seems
if
common sense, but it
but
really
you're right
isn't.
that taking that step back and understanding, which is hard. And one of the things I really appreciate is, Donna especially is really good with what I said. I want her to point out when I'm being a butthole Betty. And she'll be like, hey, you do not want to talk to your kid. You've said you don't want to talk to your kids like that. Now, I don't immediately usually respond with, thank you so much for giving me a different perspective. And
Yeah,
but
no.
it's very quick that I do then do that because that's that's my goal. And
Hmm.
so, my goal ultimately is not to be right, but to connect and to love and to, you know, I want my kids to be proud of me. I want my kids to think fondly of me. I want my kids to raise their kids pretty good. I already know they're going to probably need like lots of therapy because I'm their dad. Like I'm aware of this. But it's kind of like I'm trying to limit the damage I do by checking myself. Is like not even just like once a day or once a week. Like I try to check myself throughout the day, like you said, um,
It's
because
just, yeah, it's just each time you do little things, just think of like how, like different routes of like how you could have looked at that or done that a better way, or been more, it's just like questioning again is like getting these different perspectives and routes
I
so you
think
can.
the way you said it though was good. Was questioning from the point of view of checking myself, like not just a question because you know when I was younger I just questioned everybody else, and I was you know I, I I didn't take any accountability or be like, okay, so what's my role? And one of the things I liked is when I was in treatment and therapy and stuff, they started talking about okay, like core issues and blah blah blah. Well, if there was ever issues where it wasn't about somebody else, it was okay. So what's that feeling? And if it wasn't, well, they yelled or it was, ooh, yeah, what was that? Where did that come from? Because it was all me. It was all,
Mm,
and I was like, oh, like that's the, and that's why it's called a core issue. Like not thinking I'm enough.
right,
It is
right,
that is a core issue for most people, and then you get kids growing up and everything. Kids are once again, most kids are not the sweetest people in the world or the most thoughtful, and so they're hardcore and whatever. But it's so I think that's why I've you're aware of that fight so much earlier than I ever was. And I think
mm,
that's why I get hopeful and why part of the reason why I wanted to showcase you and have you on this because even though you're not a finished product, first of all, because you're not dead, because that's the only time we're going to be a finished product. It's your willingness to deal with the mess, which is life, and deal with. Okay, so okay, how can I better myself? Because I remember when you first got here, you're like, I guess I have to do school. Like you were super not jazzed about school, and
no.
but part of it was like you said that okay, this is just kind of what I'm going through. Some people say, oh, it's a season, and that's true. It really is. It's like, what season am I in? Even though it's for me, it feels like, oh man, spring's like super fast and summer's over, and then all of a sudden I'm like, fall's pretty. Wait, that's winter again. But
Right?
like when you were talking about doing your art, all of a sudden, like that's your season because you were everything. It was there wasn't a past, there wasn't a future. It was right now. It was this and like you said, little corrections of yourself all the time. And it to me, it was beautiful. Like I hope you go back and watch that because you lit up. And it was just funny because I'm sure I looked like a crazy person because I just went,
That's hilarious.
and I think part of your impact is your willingness to let people in to the struggle. And I don't know if that's like if that's what you did with your art or whatever. Like I know I've heard some artists say, well that's what I kind of, work through things through art. I'm like, that's great because I don't do that because that sounds crazy and awesome, but I don't know. Um,
That's hilarious. Yeah, it's like it's almost like a little therapy for yourself. It's like a little therapy session. You have a customer, but you're really doing it for yourself. It's funny. That's great.
that is great. Well, I'm super excited that we reconnected. I really am
Me too.
because you are kind of a big deal.
Oh, thank you for this video because this meant a lot though. Again, just being able to have normal conversations is really refreshing. It's normal. It's not today, but it should be.
And you're being the change you want to see in the world. Like you're straight up Ganding this whole thing. Like that's what I'm doing too. I want to see people connect. So guess what? I'm going to connect with people. I want to see people be
Heck
positive.
yes.
So I'm going to be positive around people.
Heck yes. It's great. It's like the amount of like I knew as soon as I came in the gym, I was like, oh, he's a goob. It was just like it was literally like a ray of sunshine, is what I like to say. And there's animals.
Hey, I love animals. Animals are fun.
Really? You like animals?
Love
I'm
animals.
joking. I knew you would like
I was going to
animals.
say, I have 9 chickens, a
Wait,
dog.
no.
Yeah, we have 9 chickens. We
You have 9
have a
chickens?
dog, and we have a bearded dragon.
Okay. Actually, what? A
Yeah,
bearded dragon?
yeah, that's Allison's. He's ginormous and cool, but he smells when he poops. But they wrote a
Oh,
book. Everybody poops. There's a book, so it must be real.
I mean, yeah. Bearded dragon though, that's like weird skin.
They're really. He's really chill and cool.
Oh really? He just sits there.
Yeah, and he's like, and when you hold him, you put him on your like. He wants to be kind of high, but he'll just literally sit right here, and you just as you keep him warm, he'll just be chill and be like. I feel like that's what he's doing. He's just gonna. That's right. Hmm.
That's right, I'm just hanging on here.
I'm just hanging on because if he's unhappy, he puts his like spikes out. Most of the time, his spikes aren't out because he's just chilling. It's
When
cool
does he get angry?
when you scare him, which is most of the time when I'm near him because I get really excited and loud.
Oh, loud things.
Yep, he's like Goobler.
That's hilarious.
Well, I very much appreciate you taking time to do this with me. Um, and
Yeah.
do me a favor, do not get off yet. I'm going to stop recording in a second. Do not get off yet. I appreciate you.